Hi, welcome to this course on Dragon Yoga. That's right, Dragon Yoga is all about the shamanic Kundalini Yoga that we use to weave our way into the Celtic chakras, known as the Kayas of Annwn. The Kayas are the castle islands within the Celtic otherworld, known as Annwn. We're going to be working with sound. We're going to be working with mudra. We're going to be working a lot with movement. But essentially, all of these tools are used so we can get to a place where we can travel shamanically. That's the point of the Dragon Yoga. And really, that is the point of Kundalini Yoga, I would argue, in its origins, in its true, authentic origins, the point of the channeling of the Kundalini energy that is to ride the back of that serpentine-like life force to become the dragon rider so that we can use that energy which comes from source and weaves its way in to create who we are and goes out into all the levels of the multi-dimensional nature of the reality that we call the universe. We are a shamanic people, and many of us have forgotten this shamanic heritage because it was stamped out intentionally by huge waves of warmongers who wanted to control and dominate the lands for their own purposes, for their own advantage. So systematically, over a long period of time, the magic and the ancient mysteries and the knowledge and the ancient lore was almost all but eradicated from Europe and from Britain. And then these people went out all over the world in their misguided state of consciousness and dominated much of the world. And that is why we are a species suffering from collective amnesia. But we are here to reclaim that heritage. We are here to reclaim that knowledge. And for me, and for many of us with European connections, but really, there aren't many people in the world who aren't connected in some way to this. It's about reclaiming the mysteries that once were known by the people, known as the Druids in the Celtic world, that was all over Europe and all over Northern Europe and all over this land that I hail from that we call Britain. And this knowledge is somehow still remaining in the land that I come from, in the West country of Great Britain, known as Wales. In our native tongue, we call it Cymru. And still within the land, there is this memory of the dragons. In Wales, the symbol is the dragon. And everywhere you look, there are dragons, which are very much a part of our culture. So it's an extraordinary, extraordinary place. And everywhere you look, there are castles. There are more castles in Wales than anywhere else in the world. Such is it condensed into this area. So we're going to take all of this inspiration really from the land, from the dragons that are still there in the mythology, that are still there in the place names. And we're going to use that to get in touch with the land and again, let the land speak to us and to get into these liminal states of consciousness. That's the point. So we can shamanically go into the other world and begin to travel into the 7 Celtic chakras, these Privy Anun, these spoils of Anun, these island fortresses, which are places that you can go to. They are places because they are states of consciousness, and they're also energy centers. So in the East, in the yoga, we are very lucky to have that memory of the chakras preserved. And now we can take that template and put it onto our sacred Celtic knowledge, which is contained, as always, that the bardics always contain their knowledge from the oral tradition in poetry and song, and realize that the druids of old are speaking to us from the past through the bardic poetry of these places of consciousness that we now know very well as the chakras in yoga. But then we're very much known as the kayas. The kayas. So that's, hopefully that goes into a little bit more depth about what we are going to do. So I would argue that Kundalini Yoga is always about being shamanic, because when the Kundalini moves in its serpentine way, takes you into these altered states of consciousness, you can travel, you can voyage into the other world, into the deep collective memory of the collective unconscious, in the unconscious of your mind, and you can get in touch with not only archetypal energies, but real ethereal beings. And I would argue that it's where we go to these places that you can get real insight from beings that actually are existing, including the dragons. And you can get healing, and you can get foresight. This is what our ancestors always did. And this is what, by and large, we're no longer doing. And by and large, we look at our ancestors and think they were primitive for believing in magic. They were primitive for getting into altered states of consciousness. You know, they were primitive for believing in beings that don't exist. They were primitive in talking about the 4 elements. We patronize them, and with our patronization, we block ourselves from the very true fact that they were wise, they were knowledgeable, they knew how to work in harmony with the earth, they knew about the different levels of reality, and they were very spiritually rich, and they were in balance. And so we can learn a lot from following in their footsteps and traveling into the other world and starting to pull the knowledge from the deep and bring it into this present time, into our lives. So hopefully that explains a little bit deeper about what we're doing with the dragon yoga. It's all about getting shamanic, riding the back of the dragon, the Kundalini energy, if you like, to get to these different states of consciousness. So it's very similar to Kundalini Yoga, but it's far less focused on the crown. It's very much the journey and not the destination. It's very much about the exploration of our 7-fold nature, not just trying to get to the top and staying there, but it's very much being focused on the spiraling deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper within. So we're always coming back with the spiral. It's like we're always returning to these different Celtic chakras, if you like. The journey is one of continuous unfolding, continuous spiraling deeper and deeper within. You know, it's not just you get there and then you're just going to maintain it. It's just a gradual process of allowing the journey of unfolding, which is life. So thank you very much. See you in the next video.